All right. Well, welcome everybody to what might be our final session of my turn at the helm of this Star Wars campaign that we're doing before we hand over to the next lucky victim. Volunteer. Uh, welcome. Shall we get started?
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
All right. Sort of resume the scene. You're sort of traveling through the almost pitch black space, dodging past various bits of strange debris. Towards this citadel in the Umbral Desolation that you know is the sort of home of Dark Aegis. In tow, you have the escape pod with Varys Eccles therein, with his kind of dwindling air supply as you make your approach. Your sensors are down after your ship was damaged in the transit. Yeah, any sort of particular things you want to do?
First priority, I guess, is to get to that citadel in one piece.
Yeah.
And it'll be nice if the buglugs that we're towing behind survives.
Mildly nice.
Yeah, mildly.
Before we get right second, actually, we should roll the force
Force ball?
die for the force ball. Yeah.
Alrighty. Ooh. I went straight for the dark side on that one.
I strangely went to the light. 3 dark, 3 light.
Dark
Oh.
light.
Nice.
All right, yeah. So you're on approach. You kind of, yep. That's obviously on your mind. How do we approach safely? We're making our way through. Let's have a piloting check. Also recalling that the ship that I think you gave a somewhat obscene, temporary name after you repaired this fairly patchwork ship. Does have a -3 to handling, so you got to remember to add 3 black die in addition to your pilot roll. But let's have a piloting check against 3 purple and the 3 black for the handling.
Okay. We probably should have named it something nicer.
Yes.
Yeah. Too far your street threat.
Who's going to be towing who back to the station?
Oh dear.
2 failures, 3 threats. Okay, so I think you get battered by a couple of bits of space debris as you're going along, and the ship's kind of shields are sort of all but down, kind of thing. You know, you've taken a few hits to the structure as well. And I think the other thing that happens is that Varys is kind of pretty desperate to kind of get brought aboard. Like he's sort of like, oh, I've got 5 minutes of oxygen left. Please, I'll do anything. I'm no threat to you. Please, anything.
Okay, Varys, just breathe slowly.
He's very panicked.
How much oxygen do we have?
You've got a working, ship,
We're
whatever
fine.
it is,
We're
system,
just
so it's fine.
a
Yeah.
little dented with no sensors, which is really annoying when we can't scan this guy before we bring him in.
Mm-hmm. We're going to need to bring him in.
We're gonna. Okay.
Yep. So you bring him in.
Yeah, but non-people piloting the vessel, if you could please
Sure.
train your weapons on him.
Yep. Okay.
We'll babysit.
So you sort of draw him in using, I don't know if is it called a tractor beam on this side of a ship? I'm not sure, but anyway, whatever you use, whatever hand wavy space opera technology brings it
Some
close
form of
to you.
grapple.
Some form of, Yep.
Yeah.
thing. Brings alongside this escape pod, and you see through the viewing port this pretty battered. It's taken a few hits from sort of small rocks and so on. There's a bit of air leaking out of it, kind of escape pod that kind of does form a seal with your airlock. And the sort of airlock cycles, and rolling out of there, kind of gasping, is this guy in this kind of dirty looking flight suit. He looks, probably somewhere between 25 and 35 kind of thing. Dirty flight suit, sort of wiry, wild red hair, pretty unkempt kind of beard. No shoes on, and he's got this battered heavy duty camera setup kind of thing with him that he kind of clearly uses to document what he sees around him. And he says, oh, and he breathes in, oh, thank you so much, you've saved my life, thank you. I knew that fate would turn again in my favor. So I had my doubts there. Thank you so much. And he probably comes across to run side and almost like sort of kiss your hand. Oh, thank you so much. You've saved me, kind of thing. Like he probably has a look at a Maya person that's sort of like, oh no, scary vibes there.
Ronsai wipes her hand on her pants.
Varus, how about you sit down over there and turn those machines off?
Which machines?
The recording machines.
The recording machines. Oh, right. Oh, he says, oh, this. Oh, no, it's not recording now. I mainly take, stills and so on, when the situation arises. He says, I'm a photojournalist, by trade. I came out here to, track the famous Dark Aegis and try to bring back something of a biography about him. I probably know more than anyone, really, or anyone that's still around, at least. Yeah, I hope to spread the greatness of his name to the galaxy at large when I return, if I can return.
Didn't he just space you?
He says he did, but he did.
He says he did.
He did give me about 8 hours of air supply, and I thought he would come back to get me once his temper cooled. I'm sure he just saw that you all were approaching, and figured he could leave it to you.
Why did he leave you there?
Well, sometimes I think I'm one of the few people from civilization that he still has contact with, and sometimes we quarrel about philosophy and matters of the like. But we always make up. He's a great man. He's a great man.
Can you tell me why he's great?
Where do I begin? He says. He's a great hero, brilliant tactical mind, but more than anything, it's his voice. He speaks with authority, with presence, and whenever he speaks, all will listen. He has a great way with swaying one to his way of thinking.
Do you know much about Force users? Did you say that he is a user?
He says, well, before I came out here, I would have dismissed that as some hokey old religion, but he doesn't speak of the Force. I don't really know what the Force is, but there's something mystical about the man. I'd say yes. He's a great man, great man.
Interesting.
I think Fazia is listening to this over the ship systems. I think he's full of bullshit. Can I check and see if he's full of bullshit? What is the bullshit roll?
Bullshit detector. You can make a vigilance roll. Yeah, you can make a vigilance roll. And it'd be regular difficulty, so 2 purple. And you could probably have a 2 blue, actually, because he's probably being as candid as ever. He just saved his life, so
1 success, so
No.
1 success. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Even without the blue, yeah, easy. Okay, cool. So yeah, so you get the sense that he's, from his perspective, he's being utterly truthful. Whether he is a unbiased perspective, that remains to be seen. He's clearly a erratic character, but he certainly seems to believe what he's saying.
I mean, I know I went straight for the Force, but is he in love with him?
Do you ask him that, or are you just kind of wondering for yourself, like whether he's
there any romantic feelings towards?
He sort of looks at you and he says, "Oh no, and even if they were, I'm afraid his heart is already with another. So alas, well, he says at least one other. I suppose it's 2 if you think of it. But not with I, alas."
Oh. So who would this be?
Who would his lover be? Well,
Yeah.
he has left behind, with the diaspora of the Mandalorians, he did leave behind his wife, who sort of fled with another group, and they were separated. And he speaks very strongly of her, but they've been separated these past 5-6 years, and so, of course, love can only withstand so much separation. But more immediately, he has formed a most passionate union, in the manner of the Yavori with one named Zorak, who is a great leader of the Yavori and speaks with great authority amongst the tribes of this part. At that mention, I don't know, would you have Red Mask nearby or kind of
Somewhere, yeah.
somewhere nearby? Yeah. You could make a vigilance check against. It's probably a bit harder. Probably make it 3 purple for vigilance check to sort of see what Red Mask's reaction to this is.
Okay.
Is that all of us or just?
Oh, anyone who wants to, yeah. If you're there, you can. I mean, I suppose Vazia's in another room, so probably not Vazia, but.
And 2 purple, you said?
3.
3, yeah.
2 successes, 1 threat, but succeeded.
Yeah. Yep. Successes with some threat. Okay. So I think both for Ronsai and Amaya, you see that Red Mask seems to be sort of taken aback, kind of almost like shocked at this development, that there's a kind of union between one of the Evori and this Dark Aegis, and almost sort of, doesn't know how to react to it. I suppose in terms of the threat, you probably get the sense that maybe Red Mask is kind of looking differently at you all in light of this, and maybe is sort of suspicious of the kind of the moral threat or something of kind of working with you, but it's really hard to get a clear read of that. But certainly they seem sort of a bit taken aback by this kind of thing.
I'll look at Red Mask and go, who is Zorak?
Of Red Mask. So again, in their kind of odd, stilted way, using kind of their mannerisms and their kind of facial sort of mask gestures and so on, they sort of indicate something along the lines of that they were the daughter of a very powerful chieftain. For her to be spoken of as such, now she must stand in their stead. And he sort of alludes to the fact that this tribe, the Umbral Desolation group, is somewhat of a kind of heretical, more distant branch of the Evori that Red Mask's own people don't get along. But even, you still get this sense of shock at this kind of marriage, especially for one so powerful. Yeah.
Okay. I'll look at Varus and... So, is that how he's been successful using Zorak and her tribe?
He says, well, I wouldn't say. I think using is a crude sense of it. I think they've come to share in his vision. He speaks with a powerful voice. He speaks of a new age, the coming of a new time in the galactic civilization.
It's a cult leader.
Mm-hmm.
You could interpret it that way, yeah.
That must been drinking the Kool-Aid.
Whose vision was it first? Was it Sora or was it Dark Aegis?
Whose vision was it? Certainly it was Dark Aegis' vision, yeah. He came to this part and he's been a powerful influence on the Yavori here.
So what is his vision about?
Well, he speaks of the Yavori rising and reclaiming the power of old that once existed in this sector, of bringing the secrets of the of Ethereum to the galaxy at large. Few know this about Dark Aegis, but he was once known as Vosk Talon, a Mandalorian who fought at the Battle of Mandalore and fled after the defeat by the Empire. Wandered the Earth to kind of look for an answer to this, and so he seeks to sort of return and bring a new age of peace and order to the galaxy beyond what the somewhat chaotic New Republic has been able to offer so far.
I see.
You spoke of him in the past tense.
No, he's still. I'm still hopeful that his dream will come to pass, though I must admit, he hasn't been well of late, and I think I partly blame this for him casting me out. I think in his kind of delirium, he kind of didn't know what he said when he ordered me away. Hopefully, he'll come back to his old self soon.
Where is he?
You probably don't have maybe you do, maybe you have a sort of viewport, sort of gestures towards the city. He's in the Citadel, in his place of power, yeah.
Azia, what's our ETA?
So you're probably not far. You're probably like, half an hour away or something.
Close, yeah.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Yeah, look, we can cut to the arriving if you like, if you finished questioning Red Mask and Varys.
Ronsa, you got anything?
She's just thinking.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, maybe as you sort of mull this over, you kind of approach the Citadel. Obviously, you don't see it on sensors, but visually it comes into your kind of field of view in the pilot's kind of cockpit. And the thing that immediately strikes you is, so there's this huge kind of, it looks almost like a Citadel that's kind of broken off, as though it would have like sit on a planet. I think it's like sitting on this kind of floating island of kind of rock. Probably something a little along the lines of space opera version of Castle Grayskull or something in the show, something like that. And there's this kind of unworldly, kind of deep black purple kind of glow almost emanating from it, kind of thing that's quite ominous. The other thing, though, that you only really notice, obviously with your senses, that you only really notice this as you approach, but it's also surrounded with this large armada of Avori ships, which all look to be armed, and you see that they're kind of active. Some of them are sort of moving around and so on. They could obliterate you in a heartbeat if they sort of chose to, but they seem to sort of just be there, circling but ready. As the ship kind of comes in to kind of land in this kind of cavernous landing bay at the front of the Citadel.
Are these Avori ships similar to the ships that attacked us, or were they
very similar? Yeah, similar to sort. Yep. I mean, not that you probably know Avori ships particularly well, but yeah, they're of the same sort of
same type
appearance. Yep.
Okay.
We'll identify ourselves as a trading vessel from the previous base.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah, so you just get a kind of a generic kind of droid provided code, like basically telling you to come in to land. You've been cleared to land, and this is the landing bay you've been assigned to, and so on. So yeah, you come into this kind of cavernous space. It's sort of as you pass through the sort of airlock field sort of thing. I'm sure there's a more technical name for that, but that's all I know the name of. You kind of come to land in on this in this kind of great cavernous kind of hall, like made out of these kind of imposing black sort of obsidian stones. You see that there's a couple of other ships in varying states of repair. There's a bunch of kind of Avori ships there, and also sort of standing around, like as you land, probably sort of upwards of, it's probably hard to tell, but in the hundreds, kind of 300 plus kind of thing, Avori that are sort of again standing there, kind of armed with these kind of pike type sort of weapons that are sort of just there waiting for you to arrive. And Varys says, "No, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. It's okay. Something's got them riled up, but we'll be okay. We'll be okay. We're under his protection."
Really? Or could it be that they're agitated because they lost a prisoner?
Whose protection?
Dark Aegis. He'll protect us. His voice will protect us. His will.
Oh my god. All right.
I'm going to look at Red Mask and see how he's reacting, because he's going to be my little canary in the mine shaft.
Yeah. He's sort of like, again, sort of gestures that sort of mean, great danger, and also sort of, you sort of find it hard to kind of know exactly the translation, but it sort of accounts for something like there's great heresy here.
Are we in danger? I'll ask him that. Are we in imminent danger?
It says this entire trip is imminent danger.
Oh.
I just don't want to walk out of the ship armed and ready for combat, because that might be the trigger that sets them off. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
How are we supposed to approach this? Do you have any tips?
He says you bring your arms. They wouldn't see you as a threat. I think. I'm not sure what will get them to turn, if they were to turn on you. But if they do, we'll be lost. So it makes no difference either way. The numbers are overwhelming.
Fantastic.
All right, so we gear up, but keep it holstered.
Protecting ourselves with someone's voice. You hear that, Vazu?
A rather risky field.
Indeed.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
lead our unwelcome or
Yeah,
unexpected.
Varys
Yeah.
leads you out as well. Yeah, he knows where to go. As you emerge from the ship, you see sort of like striding into the Evori are all sort of almost eerily quiet that are there, kind of lined up. They've got a much kind of a darker kind of aspect to them to the others that you've seen, but they look sort of proud and strong, unlike the ones that were located around some of the stations that you've seen before. But they're all sort of like standing there, almost like they're at attention, kind of holding their weapons, kind of thing, just watching you. But as you sort of come out of the ship, you see this tall, striking, female Evori with this elaborate mask, surrounded by this kind of field of kind of purple energy, kind of almost like a halo sort of around her head, kind of emerge, and sort of gives this kind of unworldly sort of scream, almost like this scream that's sort of something between rage and grief and, just pure energy kind of thing, and just kind of stalks and doesn't approach you directly, but she sort of just stalks past and kind of like, the crowd kind of closes around her, and Varys says, "Oh, I don't know what to make of this. This isn't good.
What isn't good?
Zarak, she's upset. I don't know what to make. I don't know what this means."
Okay. Is Zorak the problem?
The problem? I'm not sure. What is the problem?
Well,
The problem is, the Dark Aegis is not what he once was. He's ill. We must go to him.
Okay.
Get us out of here.
Since we got here, there has been this influence in the Force. There's something about what they've been mining. It taints the environment. I don't know if you have perceived the echoes or felt it through more mundane means, but there is nothing but misery and pain all over. Every single station, you can see the moral decay, the tiredness, the exhaustion, the fatigue. It's evident all across. It's a corruption.
He sort of hears what you say, and he almost sort of skips past it, kind of thing. Like he almost is,
Oh God.
like he's
Brainwashed.
unaware, or you're not sure. He's kind of, but you definitely are feeling that there's this floating dark kind of energy that's stronger here than anywhere. Like it's oppressive.
Yeah.
And certainly any link to the kind of light side, if you sort of tried to reach for it, is pretty tough to kind of even feel at this point. Yeah. On the other hand, if you were to reach for the other side, great power could come to you.
Come at me.
Maya. You feeling it?
Just look at the other two Force sensitives and like, you know what's up. So head on a swivel.
Been building walls in my head to keep this thing at bay.
Oh yeah, pretty sure that goes swimmingly well.
Well, the book says it.
Of course it does.
Barzea is completely oblivious other than the fact that this place is creepy. This place is creepy.
Yeah. You're a bit like Varys. You're like, yeah, it's creepy. It's weird.
How about we get out of here and away from these Evori?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So he guides you up through the Citadel, and pretty soon you kind of get to this kind of open kind of entry hall beyond the spacecraft hangar. And you're sort of struck by, there's some fairly brutal things on display. So there's a number of Evori that are in states of kind of dismemberment, either sort of hanging from the roof or, spiked out. There's also a couple of previous Ethereum prospect agents as well that have kind of been left there kind of to, show in this kind of entry space. Pretty brutal, confronting sort of stuff. Again, Varys kind of just skips past that and he says, he's a great man, but in his rages, he tolerates no fools.
Seems that for a great man, he needs a lot of excuses made up for him.
Indeed. But he sort of ushers you on past that. Again, and there's armed Evori everywhere. They're sort of just looking on at you kind of like, again, in unreadable kind of, gestures. You hear this screaming kind of coming from behind you, kind of continues from Zarak. But otherwise, the rest of them are eerily still. And he kind of brings you through this kind of twisting spiral staircase. And you kind of reach this room where you see this enormous pile of these Ethereum shards. Like it's kind of probably bigger than an elephant sort of size. Like it's this giant size that was far more than the company could ever kind of dream of having kind of there. And again, there's this intense kind of bad feeling kind of going with kind of even being near them kind of thing on that en masse like that. But again, he sort of says, look at his success. You know, he's surely the proof is in what he's been able to achieve. If the company could just support him in what he's doing, I think much could be done. But anyway, he ushers you past that. And eventually you sort of travel through some twisting corridors and you reach this room where there's a couple of Avori sort of standing outside. One of them's wringing their hands kind of thing and sort of walking away. And there's this kind of black cloth kind of hanging over the door. And there's this kind of deep sort of purple light kind of coming from within. And Varys sort of gestures, you know, he's in here. We have arrived, Dark Aegis. Do you go in?
The black
Presumably.
cloth for.
Well, privacy, one assumes, you know,
Privacy
Let's-
from what?
in lieu of a door, I suppose.
Hmm.
You see that I think the other thing that you probably notice of the Avori is that there's kind of all these sort of trinkets and kind of like carved little figures and so on all lying outside the door. Like people kind of gather here almost like, you know, making offerings on prayers or something to kind of, you know, whether it's for his recovery or for his intervention or something. Like there's this sort of undertone of them. Again, you could make a xenology roll if you like to kind of know more, but
I don't have it, so someone else can do that.
Okay. Difficulty?
it's relatively straightforward. So just go against one purple.
I've got it too. Do you want me to do it as well?
Fair, but I had a triumph.
Fail.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting result, isn't it, when you get that? Okay. So I think probably what you kind of you're not sure exactly what this is about, although you sort of read between the lines. For the triumph, I think you probably realize that, you know, while there'd be great value in all of these offerings, a lot of them are made of Ethereum shards. It would be a massive I think faux pas is probably too flippant of a word, but you know, mistake to kind of grab them and pocket them. As tempting as the wealth lying around you might be, you know, you kind of realize that it might not go down well with the Avori if you were to grab anything from here.
Okay. Fazia will walk up to the door or to the clock.
Yeah.
Excuse me. We're here to return a object we found. We don't know if you actually want it or if we should dispose of it.
You're referring to Varys.
Yeah.
And again, there's no immediate response, but Varys says, please, go in.
You first.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Hello,
he
guys.
sort of like swoops through and leads the way. And you hear some sort of like hushed whispers as though, are you following in as well, or are you staying outside?
Yeah, I'll follow him in.
Following in, yeah. So you hear him sort of like making sort of, please, you know, like, I've returned, master, like, you know, please, excuse my mistakes from before. And you sort of hear this, again, what you see is there's this kind of large bed lying there, kind of surrounded by kind of rags and pieces of paper. There's Ethereum shards everywhere. And sort of lying on the bed is this imposing sort of, probably sort of like near sort of 7 foot tall human, fairly sallow sort of complexion, strong sort of features, strong jaw, but looking very much kind of in the throes of an illness kind of thing, you know, sort of wrinkled skin and, you know, dry looking, wearing this imposing sort of looking black Mandalorian battle armor apart from the helmet. And lying in the middle of their sort of chest is this kind of obsidian black ornate box, which is sort of decorated with these inscriptions that sort of almost, you know, pull at the eye kind of thing. Those of you that are force sensitive definitely sort of feel both drawn to and repelled by this thing sitting on his chest. And a sort of a faint sort of glimmer of kind of, you know, in his eyes as though he is awake and conscious, but you know, he's sort of speaking fairly quietly. You have to sort of get closer to him sort of much more. You see that Varys, you know, he exchanges a few words with Varys, and then Varys sort of quickly, thank you, and sort of leaves the room kind of thing and leaves you to it.
Well then, I assume that we are not to dispose of him.
And you just hear a sort of faint, like, come closer, I would speak with thee.
It's not sinister at all.
Isaiah will go and make herself comfortable on the edge of his
Yes.
bed, like she's like,
Oh gosh.
Go and parlay with the force zombie.
She's going in for the flirt. Right, alright.
Just like sleight of hand. No.
She's going in for the handcuffs.
He says, I take it you are the next envoys from Ethereum Prospects. Come to check on my progress.
well, we're not really actually employed by them. We were employed by another interested party who wondered where you'd gotten off to.
He says, well, it all started so well. I came out here hoping to find something more to make up for all that was lost on Mandalore. And things went wonderfully. The people here have really responded to my energy, and sort of goes on to sort of talk about what he'd achieved, and but of course the company, all they care about was exploiting these things and wealth and so on. They have no vision. They don't understand what's really here, what this place means, the power that could be, or what it could be used for. Yes, there's a darkness to it, but if we could turn it in the right direction, it could have been used for peace and justice in the galaxy, to set aside any risk that, any further harm could come to the good citizens of the galaxy, like what befell my people. Alas, though, the perils of living out in these parts has gotten the better of me, and now, sadly, I am dying. And I hope that maybe I can pass on to one of you, or to you all, the mission that must go on. Someone must carry this power and use it for good, lest it fall into the wrong hands.
Mission?
This, again, is this grand sort of sense of peace and justice, and sort of utopia kind of type sort of vibe.
I sort of smirk politely, like, okay.
Well, surely you would entrust this to the Avore, as they have been your rivals.
He says at their best, they certainly have potential, and they've done well with my guidance, but I fear that they do not have the will to stand forth again. Their race has fallen so far. They need leadership. And he sort of, I don't know, I think maybe if sort of being near this thing, maybe let's have all of you that are force sensitive roll a discipline check. We'll have, Vazi won't have to do it, but a discipline check against, it's actually going to be really, really difficult. So we're going to actually make it against 5 purple, and I'm going to flip 1, so we'll make it 1 red and 4 purple.
Oh, goody. This won't end well. Oh my god, I succeeded. 1 success, 2 threats.
Yeah.
Woo!
So you certainly feel strained as you kind of pull against this force, but you manage to steel yourself.
See, building walls in my head. Works.
That's right, yeah. What about, let's have Runsai and
Is he trying to do something hostile to or an innuendo?
it's not something he's doing, it's related to the object itself.
Okay. So in terms, is this like an active thing or a passive element, like a dormant element?
It's more like a dormant element, yeah. It's more like
Okay.
it's the sort of influence of the dark side as you try to keep your mind in order. You kind of Luke in the swamps of Dagobah, kind of, seeing his father's face.
Yeah.
But by all means, if you think you have some ability that's relevant or something to assist,
Well, I
let me know.
sort of do think.
Yeah.
I have Incense upgrade difficulty, which basically is if somebody tries to attack me or take hostile action against the force user, I can upgrade the difficulty of the pull by 1. So
I'll let you do that as an upgrade to your ability rather than the other way around, because it is sort of more passive. But yeah, you can have that as an upgrade to your discipline check. And Runsai, you're going to roll for Runsai as well, Penny?
Hang on, I'll do it. I can do it. 1 red, 4 purple.
Yep. Also, you're welcome to flip points as well if you want to
Yeah, why
Alright,
not? Let's
game
flip a point.
upgrade. All right, so a failure with 4 threats for Gadriel.
Failure.
Failure
One
with 2
threat.
threats.
One failure. Yeah, 2 threats.
Yeah. So, Amaya, you sort of steal your mind. Vazia, you feel this kind of coldness in the room, but again, it doesn't impact on your mind because you're sort of not susceptible to it, sort of thing. But what Gadriel and Winsai feel, you sort of feel this powerful energy that sort of speaks to you in this kind of way that maybe links to something from your past or something that you've kind of, some sort of pain that you've seen before. And you see it sort of almost like this kind of dark light that's sort of leaching out of Dark Aegis, and it seems to be almost looking for somewhere else to sort of settle on to sort of continue beyond. And it sort of hovers over Runsai for a moment before settling heavily onto Gadriel. And you feel really drawn, almost like irresistibly, to kind of go and to pick up the cube.
Oh. Crap.
No, I pick it up
Yeah.
and
Okay.
I start looking at it.
Yeah. So you pick it up. As soon as you pick it up, you sort of feel a couple of things happen. One is you see that the Dark Aegis sort of says, "Good, continue my work. You have a great destiny." And then you see that he sort of fades and he passes. And again, you have this overwhelming visions of these, this writing sort of running through your mind of scenes of kind of conquest, like, great ships, whether they're from the past or the future, or it's hard to sort of tell. You kind of, you feel this kind of overwhelming energy coming from this thing. And you also feel great knowledge kind of flowing to you. So as a result of it, you gain the battle meditation horsepower, so at the sort of base level, and you can learn further from it by sort of studying this holocron further. But other than that, it just is this overwhelming swell of images. There's Ivori in there. There's this kind of ancient, powerful civilization of Ivori that look like they have technology far beyond anything you have. And then there's kind of visions of the future and so on. The rest of you probably just see that Gadriel sort of almost reeling, holding this thing as Dark Aegis passes. From beyond the kind of curtain, you can hear some sort of almost... Did you bring Red Mask in here with you as well? Or actually, they probably wouldn't have come into the room, actually. They probably refused.
No.
But you hear a almost like a kind of frantic kind of knock almost at the door kind of thing, and Red Mask kind of saying, "Please, what's happening in there? We may need to move."
Died.
Well, I think we found Dark Aegis, and he is no more.
That Varys comes in and sort of just lays at his feet, weeping, "No, master," and sort of just weeping. He was so great. He's so wonderful.
Hang on. Has Dark Aegis disappeared?
Well, yeah, like as
Or
in
is
like
he
the way the bodies do.
still
That's a good question. No, I think it's there like this kind of almost strangely
Sure.
preserved mummy, almost like the recently passed, but like a desiccated
So it
remain.
looks like Palpatine.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Gadriel probably shouldn't be handling that. We don't know anything about it, except it's bad.
Yeah. Stinks of the dark side, Gadriel.
And
Again, it would fill your sort of thoughts with all the good that could be done with it. That all is relative. Things like that.
do you want it?
No.
Why? You love books. It's the paragon of your life. If you want knowledge, you should have it. Yeah.
No.
It might broaden your
No.
horizons.
Vazia will grab it off him and look at it like, it's a box.
Throw it out the... No, you can't. Can't throw it out the window. Now what? We have one dead Dark Aegis. We've got Navori outside. Who knows what they're going to do now that he's dead. I don't know what's happening with Gadriel. And we still have to fix
With
our
me,
ship.
nothing's happening with me.
Okay, put the cube down then.
I don't have it anymore. Varsia has
Varsia's
the
got it.
cube.
Okay.
You definitely feel that you want to keep hold of it, though. Of course.
She's taking good care of it for us.
We'll put it in an iron box or something like that.
Fortunately, this isn't a problem of radioactivity. You can't stick it in a lead box.
Aw, it's not going
Varsia's
away.
kind of like wondering how much she can sell it for.
Certainly an object of great value. It definitely, even if it's not speaking to you in that sense, it definitely speaks to you in terms of like, this could change your life if you could find the right market.
All right, Varus, what happens now? Dark Aegis is dead.
He says, and at this, I think, again, Red Mask is there almost like anxiously waiting at the door, and you can hear the other Avori coming, and Varus is like, well, and he seems to just sort of gibber a little bit, almost like his work must go on. He's handed it on to you. You will carry forth the light. He's become something more now. He's left us. But again, it's not immediately practical. Anything that he says.
Well, we can agree that we have at least concluded our mission to find the great man.
We found him.
Yeah.
We may have found his replacement too.
Shall we
Head back?
leave?
And certainly, Red Mask is like, we should leave. It's becoming increasingly dangerous here, if that can even be said.
Oh yes.
You've got what you came for, no? He sort of won't look at the thing, but
We didn't come for this.
Trinkets. We came to find out what had happened, and it seems that we can report that he has
Died.
passed.
Yeah, indeed, he has passed. Yeah.
Moved on.
Okay, let's get it out of here.
Okay.
We're not crowning the next person. We're not getting involved in the politics here.
So as you make your way down, again, you see many of these have already, almost immediately out the door, lining the way. And now they're all sort of at one knee kind of thing. And there's this kind of wailing sort of sound passing through them in this kind of soft, almost reverent kind of way. As one, like all of them are doing this. They're no longer in that sort of threatening stance. You pass through this room that's full of these highly valuable Ethereum shards.
I sort of nudge at Varsia and nudge.
So this is different to the stuff that was at his door. So you could potentially take these. You don't know, but it's up to you.
Ooh, worth a king's ransom.
Maybe just one.
Maybe just a little accidental trip and fall and
Yeah.
pocket.
Disappeared.
The small suitcase will kind of,
Yeah.
Couple that can be placed in
Is
the pocket.
Is this like
I see none of this. I'm too busy watching the Evori.
Yeah,
making
no,
sure they're not going to stab us back.
oh
She is. She's going to try and
Yep.
pocket at
Yeah,
least.
yeah, no, and you do that. None of the Evora react to it. Yeah, you grab.
I'll hold the
bunch of
cube
it.
for you in the meantime.
oh no!
Yeah, yeah. All right,
No,
Gadriel's got the
don't
cube.
give
Yeah.
up the cube. Oh.
Yeah, and you get a sort of decent, as much as you want, really. Like, there's such a giant pile there. You couldn't carry them all the way without, making trips back and forth, though. So
Just just bulging pockets.
Yes,
Yeah, I was gonna say
small satchel size.
Yeah.
Let's Garudo to that.
Yeah. So I take it Amaya and Runside don't partake in, grabbing any shards.
Runside put some in her pocket.
Oh, you do as well.
She's
Okay.
keeping an eye on the Evori.
Yeah. Again, they don't react. They're just this kind of, low kind of wailing kind of continues. You make your way down, following the path that you recall from before. Varus actually comes along with you, and he's kind of just taking, he's taking photos of things, kind of thing, like almost like recording the moment, kind of thing, like just trying to, he says, we must record this. We must take the word back of everything that he's done.
Varys, where do you think you're going? You should be grieving for your master.
He says, "You're right. You're right." Yeah, and he's but he's still taking pictures. But yeah, he leaves. You leave him behind.
Oh, so I was going to take his camera and then leave him behind.
You're gonna take steal his camera, find out what he's seen. He doesn't part with his camera unless you kind of, use force, potentially setting off a further scene in this, situation.
Not
You
worth it.
ask nicely to see his pictures, and then if he doesn't offer, then
Look, I think what he does, he hands you over a kind of a memory card, and he says, "Take this if I don't make it back." But he keeps a copy for himself. It's important that this work is spread. So you've got the information. And yeah, you make it back to the ship. The ship is still looking decidedly like a D to F grade ship that it is.
Are there any other ships around that we should?
Not that are sort of looking in repair, other than the Avori vessels, which you're not familiar with how they work. So, no, the other stuff doesn't look in.
Fuzzy's talent wouldn't run that far.
Probably not. Plus, I guess
stealing.
the issue of like stealing them and all of that as well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the ship that you've got is still sort of space worthy. It's just not, yeah.
The hunk of junk.
Something like that.
The 1976 Datsun.
It's a Millennium Falcon.
It will drive, no frills. That's it.
That's right. I remember those. They were amazing.
Cortina.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you get back into your ship. You don't steal a
no.
different ship. No, fair enough. All right, yeah, and you sort of flee back out into space. Again, the fleet sort of remains there, kind of, but again, all is sort of still. And again, as you leave, the last thing you hear is this kind of eerie, kind of wailing sort of sound before you kind of close up the ship. Head back out into space and make your way back to the route to return. There's no one pursues you, no one follows you, at least as far as you can sense. Obviously, you have a limited sensor capacity, you're using visual only. And you sort of make your way back through, and it almost passes almost like a dream, almost like a kind of whirlwind that you pass back through the preceding sort of stations, back through the various sort of steps that you've gone to sort of reach this kind of edge of outer space. And before you know it, you sort of find yourself, back in the office or back in the sort of, seedy underworld location, meeting with Quan Toxis, the sort of Aquilish fixer, after, various paperwork and so on, and checks by the company as you come through, and that you somehow make it through with the shards despite, probably because of Azia's smuggling clout. But they all seem, rather disappointed but sort of unsurprised about what happened. And yeah, Quan sort of says, well, tell me what really happened, like what went on out there, like,
Well, we've got footage.
Yeah, you can check the footage before you get to this meeting if you like.
Yeah, it would be a case of I'm going, well, I think he went a little power hungry,
Native.
cultish, crazy. New messiah.
Yeah.
Getting very culty.
Yeah.
Is Gadriel sleeping with that box? My precious.
Yeah. Definitely would be spending a lot of time with it.
Actually, he has been studying the hologram.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
exactly. Yeah. And again, you can see that with time you'll be able to learn a lot about this technique and maybe much more about the Force. Much could be unlocked. It's hard to get information about the Force, and this is certainly a powerful artifact from time gone by. Whether it's one that you want to sort of approach other sort of fledgling members of the Jedi Order and try to get their opinion on, you suspect maybe not. Maybe you want to just push this for yourself.
No.
They might not approve.
You gonna share it with anybody?
No, I offered it to you guys, and you guys were like, no, that's Satan coming for my body.
Somebody
Well,
got my
I
torso.
mean, yes.
Well, in the case of Naomi, there is no midriff section, so
No, it's already gone.
only comes for the extremities.
Correct.
Well, we've got a Maya that's kind of like junior Darth Vader, and then now we've got Gadriel, who's kind of like, junior Darth Sidious, so we'll work on the others as time goes on. See if we can make a sort of evil Sith cabal by the end of the campaign.
Bagged being evil Darth Maul. I mean, junior Darth Maul.
So look, I think Quan, he's sort of certainly interested in the information you have, and he sort of, seems to go, well, that's the way it is. He'll sort of handsomely reward you for any shards that you can bring him, if you choose to sell them to him, but certainly at a decent rate. Not that we're really focusing a lot on cash amount specifically, so I won't put a
number
value on it, but it's a princely sum, certainly enough to get you a
New ship.
if you want to. Yeah. Or a what? Or a new crew, did you say?
A repair.
A repair. Definitely more than enough to get a repair. You could get quite a nice
and a
new ship
whole
with it.
wardrobe full of jackets.
Yeah. You can replace the jackets. Yeah, that's right.
Bestest jackets.
Yeah.
We're going to suggest to Quan that perhaps if he does send further people out in search of these shards, he might want to provide things like land vehicles and repair supplies.
He says you certainly really struggled to do what you did, and I really, again, I hope this payment shows that we really appreciate what you were able to do where others weren't. And most of all, you've got to the bottom of this Dark Aegis character, and sounds like ended the threat of him, for whatever that means. Although I do wonder what happened to that. Do you mention about the box or to him?
No.
Okay. I wonder what possessed him to turn this way.
Well,
We can say.
when you spend so long amongst different cultures, sometimes rub off on you.
That's true. They don't have the light of civilization that we enjoy here in the Galactic Core.
Yes.
It did seem that, from all reports, going mad out there was quite the expected turn of events.
He says, well, you all seem to have come back, relatively intact. So, again, thank you, but better you than me, as it were.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, you get your kind of handsome payment from Quan. And I think otherwise you kind of certainly set up to kind of, not be in a rush to find other work. But what you do have sort of contact you, I'm trying to think who they would approach. Probably, who would kind of, do you think, have the most kind of public persona, do you think, like kind of you all? Like, who would be known to kind of...
Vazia, probably.
Vazia, yeah. Okay. So maybe Vazia, then you get a kind of call from a woman named Iladrida, who sort of says that she wishes to hear, she hears that you were present at her husband's dying moments and wishes to know anything of him, if you might speak about him.
He will agree to meet with her and lie through her teeth.
Yeah. So you meet with her, and again, she's this kind of proud but fairly normal-looking kind of Mandalorian woman who, asks, attractive, probably mid-30s kind of thing, but not in any way strange kind of thing. And she sort of says, "Tell me what happened with my husband, with Vosk. We were separated in the war. He always had my heart. Did he think of me to the end? Was he, or was I always at his mind?"
Yes, him and his mistress were thinking about you.
His last words were of you and that he wished you could be reunited. And no, Vazia's going to lie through her teeth.
Yeah, okay. I hope what he did out there was worthwhile, and I hope he left something positive as a legacy.
He was trying to improve the situation of the boring.
She says, "Oh, thank you. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you so much."
Hey, now we've got like a Mandalorian who thinks we're great. So lying through my teeth.
I'm not disputing that.
Okay, guys, and that's about what I had, kind of thing. So yeah, thanks, guys. It's a bit short today, but
Thank you.
Includes that story.
Yeah, thanks.
yeah.
That's good.
So I think probably for getting all your way through it, probably have a particularly bumper XP. So I'll say you can probably have 30 for making your way through the
Ooh.
whole thing. Give it a bit more of a bonus for being good sports. You did well.
Cute.
Hey,
Exciting, because I think we're going to be tortured in the next one from the manic laughter.
Yeah.
The person who has
Yeah,
been.
she's much too.
Oh, I have plans.
Oh, look out.
Oh.
Hey.
Don't you
Uh-oh.
worry, my precious.
we already know how that goes.
Well, it's easy to get them to come off when you're the GM, isn't it? Like rather the other way around. Plans.
Sometimes. Anyway, we shall see. But that's a next week problem.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Good
See you
night,
next time.
people.
everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Good
guys.
night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us on this epic voyage through the Star Wars galaxy. We hope you enjoy exploring the Force, iconic characters, and untold stories from the far reaches of the universe. Remember, the Force will be with you, always. Please support us and subscribe to the show on Twitch and YouTube. We're also on Instagram. Rate and review and spread the word so we can grow and keep these shows coming.